Got it. So at 6:34, I just want to welcome everyone to Bronx Community Board 7's Veterans Committee. My name is Chad Royer, and I am the chairperson of the Veterans Committee. Just want to go over a quick roll call of all the members. So I have Chad Royer, present. Jean Hill.
Jean Hill is present.
Hugo Gonzalez.
Hugo Gonzalez present.
Haylene is excused. She had a prior engagement. Emmanuel Asamoah.
Emmanuel Asamoah is present.
Good, thank you, thank you. So we have a quorum. We have a quorum. So as we begin this meeting, I'm going to go over the committee guidelines. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, so once again, my name is Chad Royer. I am the chair of the Veterans Committee of Bronx Community Board 7. I'm going to go over the committee. I'm going to go over the agenda as follows. We have update from Fordham Village, Veterans Residence, update from the Woodlawn Cemetery, any medical center updates from the VA Medical Center. And we also have a presentation by Ms. Ileana Corona, who is a VA Outreach Coordinator, where we're going to discuss the New York Veterans Benefits Administration. So on September 2nd, 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, which authorizes the community board to run its meeting remotely, and minutes will be taken for record keeping. The minutes will appear on our website within days and can be requested from the CB7 staff at any time. If you are calling into the meeting or on the conference, here are the controls while joining from landline or cell while calling dial-up number. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone. *6 to mute or unmute, *9 to raise your hand. How we will run our meeting is as follows. Code of Conduct. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committee for a ban, where the amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participants in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities will be summoned. Everyone besides the speaker or presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question or comment by pressing the raise hand button on the screen, or to request to speak through the chat, or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and to make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions by pressing the raise hand button on your screen, or request to speak through the chat, or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair and under new business or addressed at the next meeting, granted there is time and the committee agrees on the topic. Following questions, discussions, and public comment portion, the committee will begin their discussions after each presentation or agenda item and will conclude when the decision to vote on the recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. Any questions related to meeting software or our process, please use the chat function or raise hand function now, or contact the district manager. Now, so we did the roll call. I would like to get over to the first item on the agenda.
That you have to go do the minutes from last month. We have to sign off on that. Ask if everybody's read the minutes, and
I'm actually looking for it. I had it on the screen and it disappeared. Okay, I think I have it. So I would like to go over the minutes of the April meeting. Has anyone had an opportunity to view the minutes?
yes,
Emmanuel, have you seen the minutes?
Yes, I have.
How about you, Hugo? Hugo, have you seen the minutes?
Sorry, having some audio issues. Yeah,
Okay. Any comments? No comments? I'll entertain a motion for approval. Anyone?
Emmanuel, approved.
Okay,
I second that.
okay. Jean seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Aye.
carries. Motion carries. The minutes are approved for the April 2022 meeting. Okay, got it. So next on the agenda, just bear with me. I have a lot of screens open. So we have an update from Fordham Hill Village Veterans Residents. Is there anyone on the call today from Fordham Village? Anyone? Anyone on the call from Fordham Village? Okay, I don't see anyone there. Let's move on. Update regarding the Woodlawn Cemetery. So for those who may remember or may not remember, we reached out to Woodlawn Cemetery to see what opportunities are available for doing a flagging event for our veterans who have passed away and are buried in the Woodlawn Cemetery. So we have until tomorrow at 5 p.m. if anyone wants to take part in the Woodlawn Cemetery flagging events. If anyone is interested, you want to contact our community board office and ask to speak to Carla. So the event will be on Saturday, May 21st at 10 a.m. We have allotted 2 hours, although we may not necessarily need the 2 hours. We have a few people who have signed up already. I know AJ, you signed up for it. I believe Hugo, you signed up for it. And then maybe a few others. Any questions from the board members?
No, I will be out of town, but I will hope that y'all take some photos and so we could see how that went for this Saturday.
Okay. Will do. Will do. Anyone, any other questions from anyone else?
Good evening, Chad.
Yes, Anthony, how are you?
I am fine. Good evening, committee. I hope everyone is staying safe. Chad, if I could ask a entertaining question, and because of the time sensitivity, this is, I guess, more of a futuristic question. I have off and on over the course of the last 10, 11 years, have been trying to get the Veterans Committee, as well as the board, to advocate for what I consider to be more appropriate Memorial and Veterans Day related events. Of course, using the cemetery is more than appropriate. I've been going there off and on for 30 years, and hopefully I'll be going there off and on for 30 years more. But as I've said in this committee several times, there was a very big push and finally approved in 2010 to have our own Veterans Memorial cleaned up. We have a Veterans Memorial right on Marshalloo Parkway. Some of you were there as of the last 24, 48 hours where we celebrate Bronx Week. We used to have celebrations right on Marshalloo Parkway. Granted, it was decades ago. But, you know, the appropriate precautions were taken, just like the appropriate precautions were taken for Bronx Week. So from a futuristic point of view, I would really hope to see this committee strongly advocate and organize and maybe even put together Memorial and Veteran Days events that shouldn't be that hard to do, considering we can use Bronx Week as your perfect example.
Okay. Thank you for the feedback. I will need some help in doing so we can definitely speak offline on it. But the one thing I do ask, I have made reaches to many partners, veterans themselves, constituents, to not only join the Veterans Committee, but also to bring back feedback so that we can take to the committee so that we can act on it. As this meeting is recorded, we can certainly get back to you and address that for next year.
Whatever help that I could be would be more than my pleasure. Again, I'm talking futuristically, and I think probably the best time to start would be the beginning, the September, you know, meeting, just going right into, and again, I consider them to be separate, you know, Memorial as well as Veterans. So I can't think of a better time to start than the beginning of the next community calendar year, which I guess would be September. So whether I'm with you or with the good Lord, what's more important is that you have an event on Marshalloo Parkway next year.
Well, let's discuss it in September then. All right.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll move on. So next on the agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next on the agenda.
Chad, AJ has his hand up.
Sorry, I did not see you. AJ?
I just wanted to second that as well.
Got you. Agreed. Thank you. And I'm hoping that we have more committee members by September. We just have to wait and see how that works out. And you will be there in September, right, AJ? And Anthony?
I'm always reachable, sir.
Good. All right.
Same for me.
Good. Next, VA Medical Center update. Does anyone at this time on this call have any updates regarding the proposed closure of the VA medical centers in Manhattan and Brooklyn at this time? This is open to anyone. Anyone on this call?
The only things that I have heard, and they're well, they were a little bit more than secondary, is that I know that the elected, I should say the congressional elected officials in the other boroughs are trying to postpone what might be happening. And I know some are more active than others. As far as I'm aware of, none have officially closed, but I do know, I believe there's one scheduled to close.
Got you. Okay. Anyone on the call from the VA? Anyone? Okay. Let's move on. So next on the agenda, we have a presentation from Ms. Eliane Corona. She's a VA outreach coordinator who's going to discuss the New York Veterans Benefits Administration. In fact, I'm looking to see, are you on, Eliana? If you are, I can give you the floor.
Yes, I am on.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. And just to circle back to your question, it's one big VA. And I'm going to discuss a little bit further, and to streamline applications and procedures. I'm representing the Veteran Benefits Administration, but the inquiry you had was more so with the Veterans Health Administration. So I wouldn't be able to speak on that. I just have not heard anything, any other further updates than what we have received. So touching base in regards to the Veteran Benefits Administration, I'm going to share a PowerPoint with everybody. One moment, please.
Okay. Do you have the ability to share?
Yes, if you could just let me know.
Oh, yes, I see it.
Okay,
Good.
awesome.
Go for it. All yours.
Thank you. So just the Veteran Benefits Administration, just because with the COVID, it has impacted our outreach efforts and just our communication flow with our constituents and our veterans. So now that we're post-pandemic and trying to get into a new cadence, the Veteran Benefits Administration is re-engaging our veteran community and just briefing everyone in regards to new methods to make appointments and to let everybody know that we're just back open and in business. And if they have any questions to please feel free to use the va.gov. So just to begin here, it's one big VA, but then it's broken up into segments. We have the Veterans Healthcare Administration, the Veterans Benefit Administration that predominantly focuses on compensation and pension. And we also have the National Cemetery Administration that deals more so with survivor benefits and or cemetery benefits as well. Here in the office, we're able to assist with all types of applications. At times, we will refer individuals to the correct department once situations are by case scenario, or a case might be a little bit more complex and or may need more detail. So with the Veteran Benefit Administration, we also have the Education Department, the Home Loan Guarantee, life insurance, disability compensation, Veteran Readiness and Employment, VRNE, non-service connected pension, and we also have the survivors and memorial benefits. Right now, we are using va.gov. We used to use e-benefits, but we have transitioned into va.gov only. The reason being is that there was a lot of hacking, and based on that, we had to protect our veterans' information more. And based on that, we transferred all accounts to va.gov. So that's one of the biggest updates that has happened during the COVID. We are located at 245 West Halston Street, New York, New York, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4 o'clock. Our last appointment being around 3:30. If you need to reach us beyond operating hours, you can call the call center at 1-800-827-1000, and they are open from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. So those are for extended hours. If you would like to meet with us in person and you would like us to do either a virtual interview, a phone interview, an in-person interview, the individual can make an appointment at 212-807-3152 and or also use the vet.force.com VA Vera system. So this is a new system where veterans are able and clients are able to make appointments with us if they're not able to come down in person to the regional office, and then we would schedule an appointment with them. We also have 2 veteran ID cards. The very first one is through the entitlement to healthcare. So once an individual is eligible and registers for healthcare, they're able to get a Veterans Health Identification Card. The second one is called VIC, Veterans Identification Card. This card is predominantly to get some waivers and or some also special programs that are catered predominantly to veterans. Veterans would be able to get their application through va.gov as well. We have the education benefits. The education benefits are not predominantly processed here. They're processed at a hub through Buffalo, New York. Based on this, they are processing 5 education programs that can be applied through the VA Form 22-1900. We have Chapter 33, which is called the Post 9/11 GI Bill. Chapter 30th, Montgomery GI Bill, Active Duty. Chapter 1606, which is the Montgomery GI Bill for Selected Reserves Educational Assistance Program. Chapter 1607 for the Reserves Educational Assistance Program. Chapter 32 or Section 903, which is for the post-Vietnam era veterans. And there's also supplemental tuition programs such as the Yellow Ribbon and the Marine Gunnery Sergeant John David Fry Scholarship. With entitlement to education, they're very much so focused on the individual service and the timeframes they served. I highly recommend for individuals to call 888-442-4551 to get more specifics about entitlements and or their options to potentially transfer benefits to dependents. Here we also have educational benefits through the entitlement of Survivor and Dependents Educational Assistance, which is Chapter 35. This usually happens with the veteran service connected at 100%. The individual, therefore, their spouse and also their dependents would be eligible to receive an additional stipend for higher education. It also here it states also that Buffalo is our hub for educational processing claims, and that sometimes in order to add additional benefits or extend benefits is also good to touch base in regards to specific scholarships that are focused through the state and or the city of New York. We have the home loan guarantee. This has expanded in that now the National Guard as well as reservists are able to apply for the VA home loan if they have 90 days of continuous active duty during a period of war. So this entitlement has now expanded eligibility. So we're seeing a lot of people now really use this benefit. This benefit is used to, because the loan is backed by VA, individuals do not need to have 20% down to purchase a home. They also would be eligible to receive lower interest rates in regards to their loan, and they would be able to use it to potentially buy a home. They could refinance a home, meaning that if they have a higher interest rate on their loan through this program, they could potentially get a lower one. So it all depends also where the interest rates are. I know for last year they were very low, around 3. Now they're increasing. So right now, if they increase more than before, it might not be the best financial situation to do it in. But if it does transition back to low interest rates, this is definitely a loan where people refinance their mortgages. It could also be used to repair, alter, and or improve residents as well, and or updating heating systems, cooling systems in the home. I highly recommend individuals to call the 877-827-3702. Sometimes there's specific scenarios and or entitlements can be expanded as well, depending on the state and depending on the circumstances of the individuals. They also have a plan for individuals that need additional support, especially with this COVID. If there's any late payments, there are programs to prevent bankruptcy and or the loss of a home. So they have a very stealthy program and assistance. And so it's just overall a great benefit. Right, the application that would be used would be the VA Form 26-1880. We also have a life insurance, and usually for the veteran group life insurance, that's for active duty members. If a veteran becomes disabled at a 100% and they're under the age of 65, and they have received a grant of a 0 for any condition, if they apply for the life insurance for service disabled veterans life insurance, which is S-DVI, they potentially would be able to get a $10,000 policy and have the premiums waived. The application would be submitted directly through the life insurance, and the request for the free waiver would be submitted. If potentially the individual is not eligible, the premiums are pretty low, and individuals would then assess how much coverage they would want. The coverage is usually, it runs a gamut. It could be from $1,000 all the way to $40,000. But the initial one would be at $10,000. After a year, the individual could then purchase additional supplemental coverage, which is additional 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30. So it all depends on the individual. After the preliminary, then additional premiums would be paid for the additional coverage. And the phone number there is 800-669-8477. So in regards to disability and compensation, right now we're seeing a lot of presumptives come up. The latest one is predominantly with Southwest Asia. So there has been now a lot of medical evidence that has shown that burn pits and or air pollutants may cause asthmatic conditions, sinusitis, rhinitis, and or sleep apnea. So based on these conditions would be considered presumptive if they have been diagnosed and the individual served in Southwest Asia. So that also includes the waterways and the airways. And from, let's say, Djibouti all the way to Afghanistan. We also have a concept called direct service connection. That's when the individual was injured in service directly. We have aggravation, that's if they entered the service with a predisposed condition and it became worsened by their service. And we also have secondary, if they incurred a condition and it impacted another, such as, let's say, the person had an ankle condition, a right ankle, and then through time, degeneration potentially happened on the right ankle. So all of these are concepts contemplated to include the facts and circumstances of the service, meaning where they serve, what type of job did the individual do, as well as active duty for training is considered, as well as drill days, drill duty for reservists as well. And also anytime that National Guard goes on Title 32 orders that are federal. The application process is initiated through the 526 EC. And what we do internally is we verify service and request the service treatment records through the National Personnel Records. Once those are off record, we then proceed also getting any private treatment records or any treatment at the VA medical centers. If upon review, it's determined that an exam is needed, that is done internally. The request is done internally. However, we have now collaborated with vendors, 3 predominant vendors for compensation exams. They are QTC, VES, and LHI. So those are the vendors that assist the VBA in completing the exams. Once the exams have been completed, they come back internally. Those are reviewed for accuracy and then submitted to a rating specialist. Our rating specialist reviews all the facts of the case, the objective evidence from the exams and the private treatment or the VA medical records, and then garnishes a decision. And then from there, a notification is sent. Now we have something called the Appeals Management Act, and that procedure has been established in case someone disagrees with the decision rendered. There is 3 predominant methods to this. The first one is called a supplemental claim. And basically the individual would just have to provide newer evidence to show that the conditions related to service. They would also, the other option is the higher level review. That one is when an individual believes that the VBA has made a decision in error and they would like to contest it. And the last choice is the 10182, which is the appeal directly goes to the Board of Veteran Appeals and the case is reviewed by a judge. So at any juncture that an individual is not satisfied with the decision, they have the option to appeal it and then also have their case reviewed again. Other considerations that we make are for individual unemployability. If the individual's condition has rendered them unemployable, special monthly compensation, aid and attendance or housebound. We see that a lot with individuals that are in a nursing home. We have automobile allowance, special adaptive housing and special home adaptation grants, clothing allowance, PTSD, medical records as well. Now, for additional entitlements such as special monthly compensation, the special adaptive housing and the automobile allowance, that usually is entitlements that are contemplated within the decision because they're predominantly based on objective evidence where the evidence shows that the individual is in need of higher care, meaning that they might have loss of use of lower extremity, lower use of one extremity and one upper hand, etc., or blindness, etc. So there are higher levels of care that would have to be demonstrated through exams and the medical evidence to be entitled to the higher evaluations. So the rating decision is predominantly based on objective evidence. And I always share this with everybody because that differs. That differs from person to person because everybody's anatomy prognosis changes per individual. So also other special considerations we have is if a veteran receives a 30%, he or she would be entitled to an additional dependency amount for their spouse and their dependents if they're under the age of 18. If the dependents are between the age of 18 and 23, they would be eligible for a entitlement called school child, which is about an additional $300 onto their award. We also have retirement pay can only be concurrently collected if there's a rating of 50% and above, or if it's been coded as combat related and the Department of Defense has made this decision. So we would get that decision from the Department of Defense. Once we receive it, we code it that way, and therefore the individual would be entitled to both their retirement pay as well as their compensation pay. For drill duty or drill days, the VBA does recoup those amounts at the end of the month. They're not concurrent. And we also contemplate fiduciary appointments in case of a situation where an individual is not able to handle VA funds. The next slide is just basically, it walks the individual through how to submit an application. There's also representatives and power of attorneys. A veteran can elect to have a veteran service organization represent them. Usually the VA Form 21-22 is needed. There's also private attorneys. There's now a lot of attorneys that are doing pro bono work just because there has been more identification on cases that need to be re-reviewed, such as right now, character of discharges have been determined that they need a higher level review. Also, the Inspector General, the Office of Inspector General did an audit for military sexual trauma cases. And it was determined that the VBA needed to also have those cases have a higher level review, just to ensure that there is accuracy and that all the facts of the case are considered. We also have, if the person, the veteran could elect a private individual to represent them. That's usually for a one-time during the claim. And we often run into this if there are spouses that would like to speak on behalf of a veteran or a child. We would need the VA Form 0845. It's almost like a proxy so that we are able to speak to the individual in regards to the case pending. We also have the Veteran Readiness and Employment Chapter 31 program. It's basically a program that is garnished and or catered to the individual to become rehabilitated in a field that would allow them to rejoin the workforce. For eligibility for this program, there needs to be at least 20% service connection with an employment handicap or 10% with the termination of a serious employment handicap. The form that would be used for this would be the VA Form 28-1900, and that this procedure, this program is handled directly by the Vocational Rehabilitation Program, and individuals are assigned a counselor to work one-on-one with. We also have a non-service connected pension. The pension predominantly is based on income and is also eligibility for it would be determined when an individual is permanent in total for a disability, is either 65 years or older, or meets the permanent in total qualification, has served one day in a period of war, and also meets the income threshold, which is about $15,000 in the nation. It's not per state, it's by federal criteria. The form that would be used for this would be the 527 for application for pension. So the word pension is a little bit tricky. It's not necessarily pension, it's more of a need-based entitlement. Also, special considerations that we pay attention internally is when we identify a case that may be homeless, terminally ill, elderly, or there is a financial hardship. If a case is determined to fall under these guidelines, we ensure that we put it in front of our cases, in front of the list, and they are worked in a expeditious manner. Like I shared before, another big emphasis right now is military sexual trauma, in that it has been determined that there needs to be more care and more focus on accuracy on these claims. So right now there's being a special focus with these claims. If anyone is in need of assistance with a military sexual trauma case, you could give us a call at 212-807-3152 and or make an appointment through our VERA system. We also have survivor benefits. So if a veteran is service connected when the individual passes away, the surviving spouse can submit a claim for dependency and indemnity compensation. If it is determined that by the VA that the individual passed away due to a service-connected disability, there is potential that the widower is able to get the same compensation that the veteran was getting. If that's not the case, pension is also considered. So if the veteran was eligible for pension based on serving one day in a period of war, then the spouse would also be entitled to that pension as well. It would be also considered a need-based and also on the health conditions, but both applications would be eligible. With the burial allowance, anyone that incurred the cost could apply, such as a dependent child that incurred the cost of the funerary expenditures. It does not cover the entire amount. Let's say a funeral costs $10,000, 12. It's only a portion of it. So if it's service connected, it'll cover about maybe $3,000. If it's not, it potentially could cover up to $1,000. So this is why we encourage individuals to look at life insurance as an option, because then that would be able to cover additional cost. The VA does furnish free burial flags, and we also assist with the application of burial headstones and markers. And we do collaborate with the National Cemetery to have them be placed at the resting place of the veteran. And we assist in all of those application processes. Do I have any questions?
Well,
Yes, I do have one quick question, Chad. What benefits do you offer, or do you offer any benefits for the families of not active service duty veterans?
So are you referring to reservists?
No, because I'm talking about, I'm the wife of a deceased veteran who served during the Vietnam era. I know that period y'all have already cut off. So y'all don't really offer any benefits to veterans from that era. But say some of the later ones that are not on active duty now, do you offer family members any benefits at all?
So, as a spouse of a veteran that served during the Korean War, the spouse, you would be eligible to potentially apply for this right here, the dependency indemnity compensation, as well as potentially survivor pension. So we would need the application 534EZ and DD 214, as well as a marriage certificate.
It's the DD 214.
Yes.
What's the other one?
A death certificate and a marriage certificate.
Okay.
And then the application is a 534EZ.
EZ?
EZ, yes, 534EZ. Yes, it's called application for indemnity, dependency and indemnity compensation.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So first off, I just want to thank you for that wonderful presentation. I have a few questions actually. On the survivor benefits, would that apply to if the service person who served has any adopted children? Or if they obtain guardianship of an individual?
Adoption does count. I believe it does differ for guardianship. However, if the child, but the child could be 30 years old, incur the expenses of burying the individual, then that person could potentially be reimbursed. As well, another thing to contemplate with the life insurance is that a veteran could identify who is the person that would get the lump sum, or you could break it up, but who would be the individuals that would carry out last wishes, and potentially would also see to it that certain things would be paid and taken care of.
Got you. Thank you for that. You also mentioned something about the loan program that you provide for
Yes.
veterans.
Yes.
Let's say you apply for the loan program for your home. First off, is it for new purchase and refinance?
So yes, it could be for new purchase, and it could be also if you already purchased the home and the individual's going to refinance it. Yeah, individuals could refinance for different reasons. Some people refinance to get the equity of it and then fix up their home that way. Or some people refinance because there is a better annual rate, and so they're saving money. So there's different reasons for refinancing. There's also, so the other thing that happens is that the VA just backs the loan, but it's also that the bank would make the certain determinations per individual case, because it's based on the financial health of every individual. So once that's contemplated and that's reviewed and determined, then the amount of the loan would be determined, and also the circumstances of the loan too, whether the individual is purchasing, it depends the amount of the purchase. It also depends on the appraisal of the house, etc. So that aspect of, let's say, of the house is contemplated usually by the mortgage and the realtor. And once all of that has been approved, the VA just backs it, just says, the person has gone through that procedure, the finances have been vetted, so we're backing it. So it's, so because they back it, that's why the banks are not, they're not assuming all risk. And based on this, their veterans do not need to come up with the 20% down payment. And also they potentially would be eligible for lower interest rates as well.
I see. Co-ops included?
Yes, but that would be, yes, so that would be something that would be discussed with the realtor as well. And like I said, it's going to differ per person in regards to how much an individual qualifies, but once that determination is made, the VA backs it. So yes.
Got you. Okay.
And then I would also, because everybody's in a different cadence, I would also strongly just suggest to give the home loan department a call, 877-827-3702, and they will discuss your case more in detail. They'll be able to, look more into the finances and see what can be allocated, etc.
Got you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other board members have a question? Hugo, you have a question? Emmanuel, you have a question?
I love the presentation. No questions though.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Emmanuel? Any questions?
No question. It's been a nice and a long presentation. But so far, things so good.
Okay, thank you. Any members of the public, any questions or comments, anyone?
Maybe Pat, I do have a question.
Hi, how are you? Good evening to all. Thank you so much for the presentation. As you were detailing some of the programs, I was like, I've used that program. I've used the chapters, chapter 31, I think it's 36, 35, and, qualify for several of them. So it all depends on if you qualify. So, but the veteran needs to make that step and make that contact. There you go. You could qualify for the chapter 33, which is the GI Bill and everything that's detailed there. And let me tell you that I received payment for my master's, for my bachelor's and my associate. And I also received throughout my career, I should say, and also they pay for my books and some of my supplies. So it all depends, if the veteran wants to and if they're eligible. So they just need to take that first step. That yellow ribbon is awesome. I took part of that. So encourage any veteran that would like to, and I think it's not only, correct me if I'm wrong, it's also the trainings, like carpentry, what is that called? It escapes me. Trades, there you go. Thank you so much. So it includes trades. So you don't have to just go to college. Not everyone is made for that system. So they have trades and they pay for it. So that's awesome. It doesn't come out of pocket. So if you know a veteran, push that information forward. Thank you so much for the invite, chat, and everyone on this call. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Just so you know, Ileana, that's Roxana Gonzalez. She is from Community Board 5. So you want to reach out to her offline to see about the next opportunity. Thank you, though. Any other questions? Pui, you had a question?
Actually, this question is for one of my friends who live in Community Board 7. I think you saw her before. So she married and divorced the veteran, but however, the veterans passed away. And the veteran passed away who lives in Florida. And before the divorce, they used to live in New York City. So when he was living in Florida, he has a wife and few kids. But when he was with my friend in New York City, he has 2 kids with her. So how does the benefit goes? He passed away last month.
So I would just recommend to, if the individual feels that they are entitled to some benefits, I would just recommend, just going back to that slide, to solicit for the benefit under the 534 EZ. So you feel free to give the information of how to make an appointment with us. They can submit a claim for potential dependency and survivor benefits. Also, my biggest recommendations, whoever incurred the cost for burial, they could also submit that claim under the 2021P-530. Once the claim is submitted, then information, all the information is verified. So I would suggest that anytime an individual is submitting a claim for spousal benefits, definitely the marriage certificate should be submitted, even if it's a prior one. Marriage certificates, a death certificate, any medical evidence that potentially would show that the person passed away to something that might be related to active duty. Right now, Agent Orange has had a very, very negative impact on our Vietnam veterans' health. We're seeing all sorts of cancers. So if there is a diagnosis, treatment notes that would show there is a relation to service exposants, then I would also encourage the individual to submit that information along with the 534 EZ.
Oh, okay. Do you have a number that my friend be able to keep in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And this number is shared here in the PowerPoint. I'll just go to that section, and it's going to be slide number 5. So we could be reached at 212-807-3152. After hours, we can be reached at 800-827-1000.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Pui. No more questions, no more comments?
No, my comment is that has been an excellent presentation. She answered so many questions that for veterans, for families of veterans, and gave out a lot of information that even I personally don't know and never heard of. So I really thank her for that in-depth presentation.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jean.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Too. And like I mentioned, this meeting is actually going to be aired on YouTube shortly. So it would be great to share the link to the YouTube video so that anyone can view it. They can see it, they can read it, and they can figure out what questions to ask if they have any. So it's our honor and privilege to have you. And you're more than welcome to come to our meetings anytime. We usually meet every month in the year with the exceptions of the summer. And you know, we can reach out to other partners and help other veterans as well, and family members of veterans as well. So we definitely thank you for coming along.
Yes, and I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank all of my veterans. Thank you so much for serving and for ensuring that that I'm able to enjoy the liberties here. So I'm very thankful for that.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And you know, we'll definitely also, just to let you know, you're also welcome to join our general meetings as well. Those are usually the 4th Tuesday of the month. So thank you once again. And if there's anything that our board can do to help you or your constituents, you can let us know.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I hope you guys have a nice evening. And if you have any further questions or would like to make an appointment, you have our link right there and also our phone number. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you. You take care.
You too.
Okay. So I wanted to go back on the previous, yeah, you can, let's see. Okay, here we go. So I did ask if there was anyone on the call who had an update for Fordham Village residents. And I was just informed that they are going to be setting up a meeting next week in order to engage their residents so that they can get more involved and be more on top of how the management is running their property. So hopefully they'll have an update to share with us very soon. So outside of this, I would like to open the floor. Does anyone have any other business they want to bring forth? Anyone?
Hi, Chad. Is this where I say I do or?
Oh, well, yes. Welcome, Sammy. How are you?
How are you? How are you?
Good, good. So any other comments that you want to make or any other business you want to bring forth?
Yes. Yes. Just let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Sammy Ravello. I am president and founder of the Dominican Veterans of America, which is a fraternal nonprofit organization trying to bring information to bring the history of Dominicans that have served in the United States military, going back all the way back to the Revolutionary War. We've seen instances of many Dominicans that have contributed. You know, one small note, if anybody here has heard of the Tuskegee Airmen, the fire pilots in World War II. Well, one of them happened to be a Dominican-born pilot that flew with the Tuskegee Airmen and got shot over the air of Germany during the last raid to Germany. So these are some of the stories that we want to bring out. So I'm reaching out, obviously, to the board. I'm going to try to give you just a brief story. As you know, as part of our service, one of the things that we try to find out is how many Dominican servicemen have died while serving in conflicts abroad. We just wanted to get a story, and I came across one young man who came to the United States when he was 7 years old in 1991. And joined the military in 2003 after he graduated from Taft High School. 9 months later, he got shot at in Baghdad and died, succumbed to his wounds. He came back. His body was brought back. He received the Purple Heart. He became an American citizen post-mortem, and you know, that was an act done by Representative Serrano in the South, from the South Bronx. And then they were promised that they were going to name a street after him. Obviously, 16 years later, we come across the story. I reach out to the family. This is how we found out, because we wanted to get a street named after this young man. Well, it just happens that this young man is the youngest New Yorker to die in the war of Iraq and Afghanistan. So out of all the New Yorkers that joined, the youngest life lost during this conflict was just happened to be a fellow Bronxite, a fellow Community Board 7 resident. So right now, what I need to secure is a letter of approval from this community board in order to get this young man the recognition and give it to his family that he richly deserves. And I'm hoping that the board considers the fact that this young man gave his life representing the Bronx with honor. And we need to give closure to the family as well. So I'm submitting, obviously, this request through the community board, and obviously I'm hoping that the Veterans Committee backs me on this request to get this young man the recognition he deserves.
That's a very heartfelt speech. Thank you for that. What is his name, by the way?
Luis Moreno.
Luis Moreno?
Moreno, yeah. He's private first class Luis Moreno, Army.
And how old was he when he died?
He had just turned 19 years old.
Oh my goodness, 19.
Youngest New Yorker.
Wow. And he received the Purple Hearts.
He received the Purple Heart. He was a resident at the time of his death. He wanted to be a police officer. I spoke to the family. Obviously, the family, this hurts them. They're still in pain, but he wanted to be a police officer, and he thought that the fastest way was going through the military. 4 years later, they'll take him right away. I guess he followed a little bit of my footsteps. I'm a retired police officer myself, but this young man even make 1 year in the military, and he gave his life. So I mean, he made the Bronx proud, and he made more importantly Dominican Americans that have served in the wars like myself very proud.
That's impressive, and that's I'm almost speechless, to be honest with you. I'm speechless. I can relate. I think that would be an honorable thing to do a street naming. I'm just giving my opinion. And it's true, we should honor our heroes. We should recognize our heroes, and we should encourage others to take part in public service to make our society better. Where Roxanne asks a question, which location is being considered for the street naming? You said it's in the district, right?
Yes, Grand Concourse and Fordham.
Okay.
Yeah.
What street? Do you know what street?
On Grand Concourse and Fordham, but on the Grand Concourse, on the Grand Concourse side.
Okay, so we're thinking 188th Street?
No. Grand Concourse, right there in the corner of Grand Concourse and Fordham, there is a pole already with signs, obviously, because that's one of the things that they consider. So we were going to take, there's one sergeant going on Fordham. We were going to do it on the Grand Concourse side.
Okay.
I'll be remiss. We submitted this request. Fernando Cabrera submitted it, and it was supposed to get voted on in November. The reason why it didn't go through, because we were missing one piece of paper that I already had secured, which was the approval of the family, which is very important that you guys know. I don't know if Chad on the email, I also emailed you the approval of the family, because that's one of the things that they considered and down in city council. So it got passed over now to the current councilwoman, Pierina Sanchez. I believe they submitted the request, but we are kind of in the situation where they're asking if there's approval of the community
board. I get it. I was just about to ask about that. So in this case, and in case the concourse and Fordham doesn't work, there's other locations that you'll consider as well. I would say, right?
Yeah. At this point, 174 in Grand, which is where he grew up, or where he lived when he when he was alive here in the United States.
Okay. Any other comments by any other board members?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea to, have recognition for this young man. We had one of the original Tuskegee Airmen who lived here at Tracy Towers for years and, who made service to the country. So I think that all of these young people, older people, whatever, they have made that ultimate sacrifice for the country. And I think we should get behind it. So I'm all in one for, making a motion to sign off on the street naming for this young man, Mr. Luis Moreno. And so I'm in favor of it.
So you want to set the motion?
Yes, I make a motion for the Veterans Committee to sign off on having a street name for Mr. Luis Moreno, deceased veteran. What part of the service did he serve in, Sammy? Army, Air Force?
Army.
Yeah, Army
Army.
veteran, Mr. Luis, and one of the youngest to have died. So I'm in favor of that, and I'm making a motion that we sign this petition.
So that'll be a motion for the Veterans Committee. Oh, no, it's a motion for the board.
Yeah, we're
Letter of
making a motion to the board.
For a letter of support.
Yeah, to
Well,
have a street naming for Mr. Luis, Army veteran, Mr. Luis Moreno at Grand Concourse and Fordham Road.
well,
Well, we can put the name in, and if they tell us it's not available, that part comes from the city council.
yeah, because we're not necessarily in control over the availability of the poll. So I would probably,
No, you can ask for it to have it named at a certain place, because we've done this previously. We did it for one of our tenants over here. Then we got this street name right here across from Tracy Towers, and also from former board member Ozzy. We had a particular street name for him. So yes,
that's
you
on
can.
Fordham
Put
and
the street,
Sedgwick.
yeah, right. You can put the street name in there.
Okay, so I'm in favor of it either way. I just wanted to ask. I can second it.
Mhm. And Sammy, has the city council gone past, have they closed? Because they have a certain time frame they do these things in. We've done this before. Have we gone past that and has to go into the fall, or can they still vote on it now?
They still haven't voted on it. This is one of the letters that I got secured. I just want to obviously bring to the attention of the Veterans Committee some of the things that I think we should ask the city council to kind of be a little more have a little more empathy when it comes to veterans, especially the ones that have died. When some of the things that they're saying is that there are thousands of veterans that have died, and we can't name every street after every veteran. My
I
answer
understand that, but this is a particularly young man.
Yeah, correct.
He
So,
died so early in his life before he got to do anything.
correct.
So I think that's a different consideration.
Correct. So for that, I need, obviously, with the approval of the community board, I need to put a little pressure on our councilwoman to fight for this, because what happens is they're asking sometimes questions that are really, in my opinion, irrelevant. But they're asking questions as to what other ties a young man had, or what other impact did he have with the community. I think that's an inappropriate question to ask of a man that goes to war, especially volunteers like myself, and then have questioned what has he done for the community, after he's dead fighting a war. So I think that, I wanted to bring this to the attention of the Veterans Committee. So if they have any sway whenever policy set, I think questions like this are inappropriate, especially, after somebody has died. So this may be a question posed to the board. I just want them to consider the fact that, there was a very, very young man.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll read off of the.
Mr. Robert Holden, who's the chair at the City Council for Veterans Affairs, and Christian Gillibrand chairs it at the congressional level, but I think we have to go right directly to Mr. Robert Holden. Chad, am I right or wrong?
Yes, you're right. You're right. So
No, he's not gonna be able to do anything. He's not. Let me jump in here. I work for the city council and we do the street renaming. And as I've been putting in the chat, basically what has to be done is the Veterans Committee is going to vote it out of committee. Then it has to be approved by the full board. Then the district manager is going to have to write a letter to the council members saying, hey, the community board has no problem with this. And we want to get it done. The council member is going to have to submit legislation. But as the young woman just said before, she's right. The date to submit that legislation has passed. It just passed, I think, about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Now, maybe, the council member can get count central staff and the speaker to like waive that. But if not, then, she could submit the legislation, but it's probably not going to happen until sometime towards the end of the year or as we move towards next year, because they only do the street namings in one big pile once a year. So that's what's going on.
I'm sorry, what's the name of the gentleman that just spoke?
The guy that you were hanging with at the Bronx Borough President's Breakfast, Joe Bello.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm sorry, I can't actually start my camera, so I am having a little technical issue with my phone. How you doing, Joe? So Joe,
I'm
just
good.
so you know, the legislation for this street naming was submitted by Fernando Cabrera at the end of the year, and it's not done once a year. It's done twice a year, in June and in November. The
That's
street
why I said I think the end of the year. The question's going to be is.
Just let me finish, Joe.
Okay, go ahead, Bum.
All right. So the legislation was submitted because Councilwoman Spirina's office contacted me asking me for more information on this young man. All right. They were going to submit it once I told them the story. They submitted his name for the street naming. That process was done. What I'm trying to secure here, what happens is that they came back, the speaker's office came back asking more questions on this legislation, and the specific questions that I told you that this is what they're asking. We don't have the answers, but I don't want them using the excuse that I don't have a letter from the community board as to not name the street after this kid. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that the council member, because see, my concern is, even though the former council member Cabrera, that was in the old council, like with legislation, we start all over again.
Correct.
With the new council. So my concern is, if it died with Cabrera, will Perina have to start it all over again, that process? But I agree with you.
Joe,
that go ahead.
What I'm telling you, Joe, is that she did.
Okay, good. So then all
She
you
did.
need really is all you really is looking for is the council, the community board to support this, to say, look, we as the community board have no problem with this.
Correct.
Okay.
And I just got to say for the record that it's a shame that for a veteran, you got to go through this process. I understand, but a veteran, a war, that died at war, there's got to be a little more, a more streamlined process. That's my point.
What year did he die?
Embarrassing.
What year did he die?
He died in 2004, and whoever was the council person at the time, I don't know who it was. It's mute at this point. Had promised the family recognition, and they never got it. And then, obviously a long war. We were struggling during that time. A lot of veterans were dying. It fell through the cracks.
So we do have a motion on the table. I just want to finalize it real quick. So the motion on the table, made by Gene, seconded by Chad, is for a letter of support from Bronx Community Board 7 to support a street co-naming for Luis Moreno, former 19-year-old Army serviceman who died in the line of duty in 2004. Gene, what's your vote?
I'm sorry, my vote is yes.
Chad, what's your vote? Yes. Emmanuel, what's your vote?
I vote yes.
Hugo, you're the tiebreaker.
I just have one question. So he was a member, he resided within this community board, community district?
That is correct.
Okay, then my answer is yes. I vote yes.
Motion carries. The motion carries.
Yeah,
Sammy,
Chad, I'm gonna cut you off a little bit. Based on what he said, which is Sammy, I think that the persons live in Community Board 5. And like the other guy, Joe Bello, said, it's happening twice a year. So if he missed the 3 weeks ago, he can reapply again for the following term, which is in November. So I think that there is a misunderstanding in between Sammy and the Perina. So I think that the district manager of Community Board 5, Ken Brown, Sammy, I'm gonna give you information on how to keep in touch with Ken, which is our CB5 district manager, and you explain to him all over again, like how you explained to us, and maybe he can help you to write a letter to Perina. How does that sound like to you, Sammy?
Maybe we can use both letters.
I actually know the councilwoman, a very nice lady. I know her personally. So I already contacted her. I'm waiting to hear back.
Yeah,
But
but
I
Sammy,
appreciate
yeah, but
Uh,
Sammy,
Mhm.
like recognitions, like renaming the streets, it's the procedures that we have to follow. It's not about knowing a person, but I think if you have a letter of support, that will be very helpful.
Yeah, no, thank you. Again, it was already submitted by the councilwoman this time. It was submitted on time. All right.
Yeah, Sammy.
It reached. I'm trying to explain to you because I think you're confused. I think you think that I think that the time has passed. What I'm trying to tell you is that I am in between. But we can talk offline about that.
I'll call you.
Okay.
Got you. So
Sammy, I have another question. Do you happen to know what school Private Moreno attended?
Taft, right?
Yeah, I think I said it, but he graduated from Taft High School.
Taft
Okay.
High School.
Yeah, because I think Taft, it's right outside of our district, and I think the address you gave, 178 and Grand, like Pui said, I think that one falls under CB5.
But that's also under Perina Sanchez as well. I think that's the avenue that he started with and is just trying to get whatever. I mean, at least that's what it sounds like to me. He's trying to get whatever pieces that they can satisfy a checklist in order to get the votes. That's what it sounds like to me. But whatever the case is, I'm happy to support it as a member.
Oh yeah, sorry to cut you off again. Roxanne is the chairperson of Veterans of CB5. Sammy, you also can keep in touch with her. She's on the line.
Thank you.
All right. So, Sammy, we'll keep you posted with what happens. The next step is we take it to the board.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for hearing my little spiel. All right. Everybody be safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, oh yes, Mr. Guzman, thank you for your comments. And thank you, Roxana. I'm more than happy to do our part. I don't have any other business to bring forth. Anyone else have any quick comments before we put a motion to close?
Yeah, Chad, are we going to discuss the next meeting, when we're meeting next, or if we're still,
Oh, you know, I don't even know how that's going to happen. We'll probably have to see what changes with the open meetings law. I really don't have an update as to whether we're going to meet in person or if it's going to be online or if we're going to meet.
okay.
I'm
So
really not sure.
for the benefit of the general public, let me just provide some background,
Mhm.
which is basically the law that allows us to meet via remotely via Zoom or whatever other means is apparently going to expire. So after June, any community board meetings after June 9th are supposed to be held in person. And our community board office is currently closed. They have some issues with the building. I believe part of it is mold. I believe part of it is either a current or prior rat infestation, and probably several other things. So if we have a meeting next month, and if it is in person, then not only do we have to set that up, but we also have to find a location to hold the meeting.
Yeah, if I can just jump in too. So just to give you a little bit of info, if you, as you know, the COVID rate has been increasing here in New York City. And we actually are at high, even though the mayor isn't recommending, you know, the city is recommending masks indoors, but they're not. There is been a discussion, nothing definitive, about trying to extend the virtual meetings at least through June. And the only reason why that's kind of being discussed is because, as you know, we don't have any city council hearings come July, August. Most of the community board business is kind of, suspended due to summer, July, August. So there is discussions, just to keep your eye on that. So I guess we'll have to see what exactly happens.
Yeah,
Right, so everything's basically up in the air at the moment, and we're still
Yes.
trying to figure things out.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thanks,
So
Chad.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Wonderful meeting once again. Raul, Roxana, Emmanuel, Pui, Higo, Damien, Joe, AJ, David, Gene. Did I say Eugene? I did. Yeah. Thank you for a good meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Well, someone has to motion it. I can't motion it.
Okay,
Yeah, I move the motion.
You motion and I'll second.
I move the motion for the meeting to end.
I second.
Wonderful,
Me
wonderful,
too.
wonderful. All in favor?